occasionally in their side might get a chance to once in a while see an African-American person playing the role of a hero, but the rest of society will paint the actor as incapable, untalented, and as a person who only took advantage of the system and never really succeeded because of his own merits. And that's the problem we see will arise on their side of the house. So let me move on to hitting some of their substantives for today, mainly the substantive on harming the ethnic minorities that both the first and second speaker presented to us, in which they told us that children and audience will now see ethnic minorities as secondary, when in society it isn't so. Exactly so. That is the reason why we want to implement your policy, because you've said so yourself, society is changing, and society reflects the very ideology. In your second speaker, you said so, that society paints these people as much better as how movies paint them. And that's exactly why we're finding the movies recruiting people that are necessary for the film itself. Because when they painted to us this picture of secondary, of these people getting painted as secondary, we see that society already has the function of backlash to change it. And it is not the role of the movies to play the inherent part to change the ideologies of society, in which I'll also be explaining further on. And then also in the same substantive, they gave us the example of Oprah Winfrey, telling us how these people, how these people from ethnic minorities have succeeded in inspiring other people in society to follow their ways and showing people that they too can be successful. And that is exactly why we're finding with our scenario in status quo, because Oprah Winfrey didn't manage to get successful because of a leg-up system that their side is offering. Instead, on our side, we really show people from ethnic minorities are able to succeed by their own virtues and by their own merits, not by your side, when you steal the lines between the two and you make people assume that they were able to succeed because of the leg-up system that you gave them on your side and in your scenario. And suddenly they painted us this picture where they said that less racism and less harm will happen in their country because suddenly people will see the worth through the movies. And we'll tell you that's not true, because the first thing I'll be elaborating on the purpose of movie substantive, that people don't change their ideas or because of something that they see in movies, something that is supposed to reflect a fantasy, not a reality. We think what they're trying to prove is a documentary, not a movie. So moving on to the purpose of movies, which I'll connect with you about the previous substantives. We show you that there's no connection between what you see in films and what you actually perceive in reality, especially so if society is already changing. And we've already characterized for you in our first speaker how society is already changing towards accepting these ethnic minorities and putting them up as equals in society and making sure that they're recognized for their talents only, but on their side they diminish it. And they've also said that having majority group races in movies will help boost audience ratings. We tell you that this is completely not true. We tell you this is completely not true because the very fact that we've already characterized how these movie studios, the main incentive is to get profits, and to do that, the first priority is to produce a good movie with good actors and actresses. Therefore, just because you have a majority group race in the movie doesn't mean you boost audience ratings. Because you have a good movie, that means you boost audience ratings. The real purpose of movies that they gave us in the substantive was that purpose of movies was to reflect the real situation in society. That means that they were implying that movies are responsible to teach people about values and morals, because they say this is the purpose of movies in the first place. I would tell you that this is completely wrong and ridiculous to assume about movies, because these things are centered on painting pictures of fantasy and things that are not of reality. That's why we see the blockbuster films and the most popular films nowadays are about heroes and fantasy worlds, not about real people or documentaries, right? That's why we believe that on their side, the purpose of movies is completely skewed, because we believe the purpose of movies is to provide entertainment, the main reason why they're focused on profits, therefore only focusing on recruiting the best people possible for their movies, and not their problem on teaching people about morals and not to be racist. That side is problematic, because what they do is change the problem on why racism really does exist in the first place. Because now they're claiming that movies are the root cause, so they move and shift away from the real problems, such as education or workplace, where there's institutionalized racism in place. Therefore, you can't just expect movies to change it, and you can't say it is the purpose of movies to change it in the first place, because they were never responsible, and neither were they really geared towards changing or teaching people of certain mindsets. And providing the point on undermining meritocracy, they never properly hit the point on it. They said that people will still want to watch movies with black people in leading roles. And with that we say, exactly so. Because movies like Slumdog Millionaires were blockbuster films with lead roles from ethnic minorities. We tell you that people will still want to watch it in the very first place. There's no problem with that, and concedes with our policy and with our stance in the first place. And increasing discrimination, we show value the real value. I'll take you a moment, sir. And real talent. And therefore, you increase discrimination because you don't let people see the real talent of the people. Therefore, you exacerbate the situation. But they never come back to us on that. Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're not going to put a label on every movie that has been done by this that